Hi, and welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. I'm Lisa Curcio. I'm a huge fan of Pinterest, and more than likely you are as well. And there's one thing that you'll see a lot of on Pinterest, and that's chalkboard paint. Now, it comes in different colors, but of course the true one is the black one, let's just face it. And I've decided to give it a whirl on a card, and I think you're going to be really surprised at how awesome this product is with your stamping products. So today we're going to be making this adorable card using this really cute Volkswagen. Well, you may call it a punch buggy or maybe even a Beetle depending on how old you are, but it uses some beautiful texture designer paper and that chalkboard finish that's going to be really easy for you to duplicate. Head over to my online store when you're done watching the video and order your supplies there, and remember that I offer great exclusive rewards for which you can find all the details on my blog. What do you say we get over and we get started? It's hard to believe that this is chalkboard paint, but it really is. And I just love the fact that you can use a craft item on your paper crafts. And look how well this works. Let's get started and I'll show you how to construct this card. I'm going to begin with a piece of Whisper White cardstock. This measures 5.5 by 8.5, and I'm going to fold this in half. I'm going to use my bone folder to create that nice crisp crease on my card. And this is where the chalkboard paint is going to go. So you're going to want to protect your work surface. I'm using a piece of grid paper, and I'm also going to bring in a small piece of wax paper because I don't want to saturate this all the way through. And I'm going to open up the card that I just folded. I did that only specifically for the fact of knowing where the halfway point was. So I'm going to put the wax paper underneath it. This is black chalkboard paint. This one's made by Folk Art. Any will work. I got this at Walmart. I want to say it was under $3. And I'm using just a small paint tray. You can use a paper dish, one of those styrofoam paper dishes, and you don't need much, so that's probably going to be enough. I'm using a dry brush. You're not going to want the brush to be wet because water and paper don't mix. It's just going to break down the fibers. So I'm going to move this around my paint tray a little bit, side to side, so that I can make sure that I cover this well. And I'm going to do both ends. I'm going to set that aside. Now, working here at the bottom, I am going to just stretch and fill in. Now, I'm holding my finger here on the wax paper on this side just so it doesn't run away. And listen, you don't want this perfect. You want it to be all uneven. So if you want it perfect, you're going to be in trouble because this is not a perfect project. And I'm just thinning out some of the paint so it'll dry a little bit faster. So I have a solid area here where I'm going to be able to stamp my words. So now that that's done, I'm going to pick up all this and I'm going to set it aside so it can dry while we do the rest of our card. This is water-based. It cleans up with soap and water just perfectly. On a scratch piece of cardstock, I'm going to use basic black ink. And I've taken out this adorable VW bug, beetle, punch buggy, whatever you want to call it. It's from the stamp set Beautiful Ride, and it's in the Occasions catalog. Lots of fun accessories to use with this little car. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp him in basic black ink. And I'm going to stamp it on my scratch paper. I'm going to start by watercoloring in the car, and I'm going to use Bermuda Bay ink. Going to turn this upside down and I'm going to give it a squeeze. Stampin' Up! Made the bottom half of these ink pads flexible so that when you squeeze, you're going to get residual ink inside the lid. And this is actually going to be like the palette for watercoloring. The aqua painters are wonderful. They come two in a package. You unscrew them and simply just put tap water inside. Nothing special. The great thing about these, though, it eliminates a regular paintbrush dipped in water, which of course can get all over, and with paper crafting, that's never fun. So I'm going to take the cap off and I am going to give my bristles a little squeeze. I don't want it soaking wet. I want it damp. And since I'm not using watercolor paper, you're going to want to be careful not to oversaturate it. So if you're new at watercoloring, I'm going to encourage you to do this on watercolor paper. So I am going to pick up a little bit of this, and it's going to be very strong. So I'm going to water it down a little bit. The greatest tip I can give you about watercoloring is always start with your darkest edges on the outside and stretch your ink out as far as it will go without re-inking the brush. So you want light and dark areas. You can see my darker areas at the top, and I'm just working the brush down. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not perfect at this, and some come out better than others, but you know what? It's so fun because it's so forgiving.
And no two are going to look alike. So I'm going to go back over the hood of this. I'm going to make that a little bit darker. I'm going to stretch that out. And again, if you go over an area too much, it's going to pile the paper. So you're going to have to let it dry if you want to add more. The great thing about using the Whisper White cardstock is that it can guarantee the fact that you're going to use it for other things. So as long as you're not in a hurry and you've got a light hand, you can go ahead and just use this. So that's pretty much done. I'm happy with it. Light and dark areas, it's good. Now to clean out your brush, you're going to hold this over your Stampin' Scrub or your cleaning surface, and you're going to give it a squeeze so that water runs through the bristles to rinse it out. And then before I change colors, I'm going to give it a good squeeze again because I don't want it soaking wet. I'm now switching over to Soft Sky, and I'm giving that a squeeze to put more ink in the lid. And I'm going to use the Soft Sky, actually a little bit darker this time, and I'm going to go inside my wheel wells. So you can see this is a lighter color. And again, remember, watercoloring means you're going to have light areas and you're going to have dark areas. And the more you practice, the more comfortable you're going to be. Now there's some little spokes in here, and I'm going to just kind of dab them in. Just fill them in a little bit. If you like them white, just leave them plain. And then I'm also going to add some dimension down here at my card. And I'm going to add that down in here. And I know you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, you just got gray inside of there. That's okay, because it's watercoloring. I'm just going to bring it up a little bit. And I've got a little bit of a tailpipe here. I've got a rear view mirror. I've got a door handle. I've got the front bumper. There we go. That's good enough. Again, I'm going to squeeze out the brush to clean it. And before I put it away, I'm going to make sure my bristles are together. This is one of the best tips I can give you. You don't want to put the cap on your aqua painter and then split the hair so that when you take it off next time, it looks like a really bad hair day. You want those bristles to come to a point, and then I'm just going to cap that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my paper snips, and I'm going to cut this out. Now, for those of you that are thinking, why don't you have a die for this? Well, we don't, but you know what? It's okay, because watch. Most everything here is easy to cut around. And as I've told you in prior videos, when you're cutting an image out, I don't want you to cut actually on the stamped line or the image. You need to leave some white cardstock around it. The reason being, if you don't, you're going to lose the depth or the dimension of what you've stamped. Trust me, I know, I've done it. And I find this is way more forgiving and a lot easier for most people when they're doing this fussy cutting. I personally like to fussy cut. It's kind of like therapy. I must have been a great student in kindergarten. My teacher must have loved me because I love to do all the fussy cutting. There we go. We've got our car. The last thing I'm going to add is some Wink of Stella. This is the clear, and I'm actually going to add that here to the windows of my car. And you're probably thinking, well, you can't see that. But you know what? In real life, you can. Can you see that little bit of shimmer? It's just perfect for the windows. This is a piece of designer series paper. This paper comes from the pack that's called Color Me Irresistible. Now you can see I've kind of chopped it up, but I'm going to tell you why this paper is so amazingly special. All the papers in here are actually have a resist finish. So there's tones. There's whites, which can be spritzed or sponged, of course the black. And then look back here, we've got some fun colors. We've got what looks like watermelon and honey, or Dijon, I'm not sure. I think it's Dijon. And then this is the Cucumber Crush. This is a great packet and can be found in the annual catalog. This piece is cut 2 3/4 by 5 1/2, and it's going to go at the top of our card. Now, while everything is still drying, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. It needs hubcaps, don't you think? So I'm looking for my paper piercing tool, and I'm going to pull off from the Neutrals candy dots. These are the black ones. And I'm going to give myself little black hubcaps. Just love that little bit of a dimension to my project. I'm going to check my chalkboard paint. Here it is. Yep, nice and dry. It didn't take long at all. That was probably, what, less than 5 minutes? This piece is going to go here near the top. So I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to use my adhesive on the back. I am going to be a tad more generous because it's nice and long. And I'm going to mount that here near the top of my card. So there we have the top. I've cut a strip of designer series paper. This comes from the Brights assortment, and this is the same color, Bermuda Bay, 1/2 inch by 5.5, and that's going to go here at the bottom. Yeah, polka dots on the other side. Isn't that cute? So you have lots of choices with designer paper with Stampin' Up! Because both sides have a different image on them, so you can get a lot of versatility. So there's that real whimsical edge that I was talking to you about. The next thing we're going to do is add the greeting. And this is where your Whisper White craft ink comes in like a charm. You're going to be surprised. I'm inking up the words, "Life is a beautiful ride." And that's going to go here near the bottom. Firm, even pressure. The great thing about this is, unlike cardstock, you're going to find that this dries a little bit quicker and the words are going to be very predominant on the black background. All we have left now to do is adhere our card and put some ribbon on. So I'm going to grab my dimensionals and we're going to put a few on the back. Now, because the watercoloring will warp the paper just a little bit, I'm going to make sure that I strategically place my dimensionals so that my card will lay flat. And take off the paper backing, and then we're going to mount this. So I'm going to put my card right here. And then last but not least, I've cut about 19 inches of the beautiful Bermuda Bay stitch ribbon. This is so pretty, and it's new in the Occasions catalog, so you might want to check that out. I think it's an overlooked product, to be honest with you. And then I'm just going to tie a bow right here near the top. And then, of course, with my paper snips, I'm going to give this just a little bit of a haircut so it's not too long going in and out of the envelope. There you go. Isn't that a fun way to use chalkboard paint? So the card we created today and my original, I thank you so much for watching. And don't forget, head over to my blog for all the instructions and dimensions and still photographs. I offer a free featured project in a PDF format for any size order, and I'd love to bless you for blessing me. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.